You see walls, but your ceilings full of convention.
Gathered here today to listen to the musical stylist. These two motherfuckers right here.
Why do I call myself a juggalo? Cause we be banging the wicked shit and swimming off in the blood of mosh pits. We misfits and misunderstood. Got chapters of family off in each and every hood.
Once we started getting a little audience, I remember Here Comes Wicked J.
When I first met Alex G, it was in the Ghost Center of school.
And Wicked J and I were acquaintances, you know, throughout grade school. We didn't really talk or anything.
I did not know what the heck ESW was all about. When I saw their first DVD, it got me so... I don't know, I just felt the adrenaline burst up inside me, like, I can do this.
Wicked J came to me one time and said, you know, I saw a video of yours and I really, really want to be in it. I said, do you really? He said, yeah, I really want to be in it. I said, show up at my house. I gave him my address. I said, if you show up, man, I'll teach you some moves and we'll talk about it. And to be honest with you, I never thought the guy would show up. Well, the guy showed up. And I remember it was a hot summer day, man. He showed up and we were on the trampoline.
We practiced out all day in the hot sun, and when I say practice, we actually practiced. I mean, there was no messing around.
And I showed him some moves. That guy was the most uncoordinated, non-wrestling fan in the whole entire world, but he wanted to do this.
When Wicked J came in, I saw him as the jobber. When I first saw Wicked J, when I first met Wicked J, when I first saw how he wrestled, I never thought he would be the face of ESW. I never thought that Wicked J would be that guy.
His first show was, he wanted to be a ninja. I remember he jumped on the camper like a ninja.
I had, in front of a live audience, I think it was a dark show, you know, which means it wasn't filmed. I had his very first match.
Yeah, I remember. When I first came out, I looked like Osama bin Laden's freaking ancient assassin that no one really cared about.
It was me versus him, and we opened. He wanted this ninja character, which was I was completely fine with. I was okay with it until the very second it happened. When I had gotten there, and Wicked J, there's no footage of it unfortunately, but he came from behind the camper. And from behind the camper, he jumped up and like did this fist stomp on the camper, and he had a sword with him, and he started, you know, swinging his sword around. And I just remember being in the trampoline. I'm just like, oh god, what did I just get myself into? And I remember it was a quick match, but I remember that was his first match.
I was still a beginner. I was still in training. I was still a nobody, and but I was determined to rise up as a somebody, and it was fun. I remember going up against the hardcore kid, and he was just like, "Who is this guy? Who are you?"
Little did we know at the time, Wicked J was gonna be the face of the Extreme Showdown Wrestling.
Have a piece of your home.
The night, in my opinion, that made ESW what it is today, September 12th, 2008. What we had on the card was Wicked J versus MOD in a death match, and Old School Get-Ins versus Hardcore Kid Alex G for the ESW World Heavyweight Championship. And we had a decent crowd, you know, at the time that was a decent crowd. And the very first match is Wicked J versus MOD.
Oh, that match was great. You know, it was ultra-violent light tube death match. I was scared.
I remember glass everywhere. Light tubes as I walked into that backyard.
You know, I think that was Sassy T's debut. She came out with Wicked J. Now we have the first ever manager now. You know, Sassy T's comes out.
Assisting the wrestlers to the ESW backyard was amazing. It was something that I have never done before, but doing it, it was awesome.
Wicked J hit me so hard, I was bleeding. I just kept going on with the match, you know. I've been in light tube death matches, but nothing like an ultra-violent. The flaming spear, we got it from Edge and Mick Foley, WrestleMania 22. Hardcore Kid kept saying, man, you gotta do this. Just think of the crowd reaction if you do the spear. And me and Jay agreed, we did it.
Do the honors, sweetie. Do the honors, Sassy T. Soak it up real good. Soak it up real good. All over the place. All over the place. You see that, motherfuckers? You see that right there?
The moment that really spiked ESW was the spear to the flaming table.
Sassy, light it! Light it! Light it! Oh, God, man, how many times? Oh, shit!
That moment changed the face of ESW. I remember exactly where it was. I'll never forget it. You know, just watching it at the angle that I was, MOD, Spear, Wicked J to the flaming table, I knew something special was happening at that very moment. And I remember turning around to Giddens, who was going to be my opponent later that night, and I was like, we're not going to top this. Like, we even knew we were not going to top it.
And that's a moment I don't think anybody will ever forget in ESW, the first big fire table, which is pretty cool.
It was just a great match, and I would do it again if I had to.
I remember Alex G talking about how he wanted a faction.
That match with MOD and Wicked J was not only the debut of Sassy T's, but it was also the debut of Jinx Master. And in my head, I wanted to create the first ever, not only just tag team, but the first stable.
And then the first thing that came to mind was, you know, we have a huge Juggalo fan base. We have a Juggalo fan base, so let's make Wicked J and his friend Jinx Master managed by Sassy T's, and we'll call them the Wicked Clowns, and that could be the first faction, the first team in ESW.
Put it that through it! Z4! Oh,
What's up, man? Wicked clown, wicked fucker! Dress up, pussy! Holy shit!
It was basically, you know, two juggalos and a juggalette, I guess you could say, just wrecking shit up and, you know, being unstoppable.
It was unstoppable. There was no one that could deny us. We were starting the birth of a dynasty.
We had a decent Juggalo fan base, you know, these guys weren't necessarily getting booed. So, you know, here we are now, we have the Wicked Clowns.
They did it all. Great characters, everything. Jinx was a big guy. You know he had charisma, you know he had everything. If you're a big guy, you have it all, you know?
We have such a huge Juggalo fan base, so they loved Wicked J. Wicked J knew how to pump up the crowd by things he said, by just coming out and what he wore, his attire. People loved that. People loved Wicked J.
The Wicked Clowns were meant to be bad guys, you know, and don't get me wrong, they really were. They were cheaters, and, you know, Sassy T's would help Wicked J, and Jinx would help Wicked J, you know, and vice versa. It worked very, very well, I think. I think it worked very well, and I think the fans bought it, and I know the internet fans bought it.
Oh, God, man, it was so glorious. And I was so happy every moment that I came out with each of them, you know.
It was one of the funnest times ever, you know, to work with the three of them.